So after destroying the Brotherhood, you come across a bit of an epiphany here, which is going to change how you view the hotel and some of its inhabitants. And it is this tree that gives you the gold coins. This is an interesting mechanic, which I wasn't expecting to see. And it affects how you respec, and it affects a cooperative mechanic known as wish stones. We're moving into Rosa Avenue here. Everything in this zone has been upgraded, so although a lot of the enemies might seem familiar, they're going to hit a lot harder and take more damage, so be careful. However, we now have one of the best weapons in the game, and we're going to use it to just shut everybody down. But I need to talk about the wish stones because I hate them, and I will never use them because I think that they're just the epitome of bad design. And it's much like the armor system that I mentioned earlier on. And how it works is there's an NPC in the Frangelico Cathedral. He is a travelling alchemist who has the petrification disease. And when you talk to him, he mentions giving him the fruit of that tree. And when you do this, he gives you rewards, which is the wish stone, which is this incredibly clunky and awkward device that until you level it up, takes like 900 years to summon. And the idea of this is pretty cool. It's a little bit like the tonic flask in Elden Ring. It is something that you can chug that respawns at the bonfire and gives you some kind of passive, gives you some kind of benefit. And in Elden Ring, this was really clever because it had all kinds of different ideas that enabled the player to pair it to their build and have some fun with it. But in Lies of P, it is so like brain-numbingly restricted and one-dimensional that I wonder how it even became a mechanic at all. And something I've not talked about in this game is the spectres. The guest that you can summon in, which is every single boss in this game except for, I think, 2. It has a font near the door that if you give it the star fragment, you will summon a clone humanoid guy who carries a very powerful weapon, and he will be like Solaire to your Anor Londo. He'll come in there and kick some ass. And these spectres don't have the best AI. They're not the most lethal companion, but they pull focus, they pull aggro. They are your ring of avarice, right? And the sad thing is, a lot of people are using these on pretty much their first or second attempt on the bosses. They're using them right at the start, just summoning a friend before they've even tested themselves against the boss. Which is fucking madness if you ask me. But people are going to do what people are going to do. Lowest common denominator, path of least resistance, absolute mediocrity. And that gets the boss's attention while people run behind the boss and beat the shit out of it. Oh, speaking of bad design. This right here is one of the most irredeemable enemies in the game. It is a baby puppet that has more HP than Yahweh. It is just fucking insanity, and I don't know how anybody thought that this was good. This monster I'm about to kill takes more damage than any of the enemies thus far, and it is just a baby, and it has the exact same moveset as the torso enemies. It's meant to be this like distressing and unnerving and scary like machination. It's just horrendous balance. That's all it is. Irredeemable garbage balance in a game that has irredeemable garbage balance for about 60% of it. Unforgivable. Fucking nerf them. They're worthless. Thank you. But the Spectre pulls focus and the player beats the boss up from behind, gets a stun, and probably wins. And these Spectres were so ineffective, yet relied on so heavily, that the developers buffed them. I just can't imagine a world where this happened, but it did. Instead of getting better at the game and applying yourself, we'll just find a bigger tampon for your gaping vagina. And what it led to is it's led to this entire sub-game within Lies of P that is the framework and archetype of this mechanic. So you can summon a friend against a boss. What happens if your friend is injured? Can you heal him? Conventionally, no. But with a wish stone you can. What if you want your friend to do more stagger damage or pull focus harder somehow? What if you want your friend to have blonde tips and wear a cock ring with Mickey Mouse in it? You can do it with wish stones. So an entire mechanic is designed around augmenting a mechanic a lot of players will never use. And this is where it gets really juicy. So the wish stones do nothing but affect your Spectre in a handful of majestic ways. And then there's like 3 of them that do like more Legion build, more Fable build, more fucking Stamina build, something like that. And you're like, oh well, I'll use those will be good, right? So then you put it on, you go into a boss fight against somebody like the White Lady here, who is an NPC who cheats and can parry you. So be very careful, only backstab her or your life will be ruined. And how this works is, you try to summon that gem to get that boost of stamina, it takes 30 seconds to cast and the boss gangbangs you while you do it, and you use it, but you don't get it and you die, and then when you respawn, it's not Elden Ring, so it doesn't come back. It's gone forever. And it's wasted and it never had a chance to exist. And then you just kind of go, well, I guess I'll never use that ever again unless it's something fucking cool. And then later on you realise there's a skill tree that makes it a little bit more accessible, but you have to use quartz and what a waste that is. And then you come to understand that this tree that has this timer that gives you this reward, which is its fruit, is tied to buying those stones, but when you use those stones you have to wait more time to get more fruit from the tree to buy more stones. So they've come up with, it's like a timeshare mechanic for instant gratification when a player can't handle a boss alone. And it's just weird and strange and frustrating, and I just don't think it helps any of the design, because what ends up happening is that players struggle with this game because it's hard, and then instead of getting better they lean on the crutches even harder, and then instead of tweaking the game and adjusting it so that it's a much more appealing and enjoyable experience, they keep this level of like ridiculous challenge and balance, and then they buff the ads. They buff the tool that circumvents the suffering. So the only people who really truly are punished here are the people who try to play your game. And then it leads to this wonderfully unbalanced system, which is the HP pool and the stagger pool and the weight pool and the economy and the scaling. All of these factors come together to make this situation where in any other one of these games you'd be fine. But in this one you're not. Why is everything so heavy? Why is there people right now that don't know there is a light version of your game? I listened to Fighting Cowboy talk about this game in its release week. He'd been playing it pre-release. He didn't even know you could get that light. He didn't know it existed. The guy ran around the whole game 70% weight. 30% weight to him, he thought you needed 30 capacity. Do you know how you get to that weight, guys? You take your armor off. It's the first thing I learnt on the demo. It's the first thing I did. There's a problem here.